India is an impossible nation to understand in one trip, in one video, in one essay, in one life. Our family has spent 5 years in the Delhi area learning about India and sharing our experiences with the world. Even after 15 years of interest in India, 5 years of living here, and some modest command of one of India's many languages, we still have a long way to go before claiming even a modest understanding of this many-textured land. Today on the episode, it's a cross-country and multi-generational adventure as I travel from a wedding to a TEDx talk to a next-gen makerspace, from the banks of the river city to sharing dreams with the next generation of India's web and entertainment entrepreneurs to participating in millennia-old sacred traditions. It's a multi-sensory blast of cross-cultural engagement on this old meets new, west meets east edition of American Indian. We're an American family living in India. We love food, film, language, culture, and making new friends. Join our adventures from America to India and beyond. My introduction to India was a trial by fire of the digestive variety that attacks many first-time travelers to India. The regular traveler sickness was complicated by a malaria medication that we believe lowered my seizure threshold, and that in conjunction with my sickness was enough to initiate the worst medical crisis I've had in my life, a bout of seizures that sent me to the hospital in Varanasi for 3 days. Thus began my complicated relationship with India, one that would alternately madden, enthrall, confuse, and challenge me. I did hate India those 3 days. I was the typical ethnocentric, ugly American that could not see past the fog of the current medical malaise. But I did get through it, and I went on to have a summer that changed my life, truly. I know Indians get tired of hearing about foreigners coming to India and having a revelation, but my revelation wasn't so much a spiritual one or a philosophical one. Like marriage and parenthood, my India experience that summer was a mirror. A guy I met tried to use me, but rather than take his situation into consideration, rather than try to understand where he was coming from, and rather than trying to figure out what cultural cues would be acceptable ways to deal with him in a way that dignified him as a human, I just gave up on him. He annoyed me, and my annoyance revealed me for who I was, a self-absorbed, short-sighted, spoiled brat. I thought I cared for people, but this experience and many more would teach me how much more I had to learn about human nature and what it means to be a human in a world that is not just Western. So my relationship with India was a complicated one from the beginning. I would never say that my time in India has been altogether pleasant or comfortable, but it has challenged me and I believe has made me a better person because it's forced me to see reality. And these last 2 weeks have fit that theme very well. They've been 2 of the hardest weeks I've had since my battle with dysentery and seizures and cross-cultural miscommunication in Varanasi 14 years ago. But they've also been 2 of the most important weeks of my life. It all began on March 16th, just 2 weeks ago. My friend Vijay Sinha, game designer, Comic-Con India host, and avid cosplayer, was getting married to fellow IT professional Neha Rai. Friends from all over India were all set to join in the celebration in Varanasi. I was excited to join in as well, and as Kismet would have it, I was invited to be a guest at the India Institute of Technology's branch at the Banaras Hindu University, right there in Varanasi for a TEDx talk that would be hosted the day after Vijay's wedding. That actually feels a lot different than the Delhi smog. Kind of nice riding with the window down. This is Larry. He works for Snapdeal and was juggling a big promotion he was overseeing that was going on that very weekend, so he had his hands full. What fires are you having to put out back at the office?
We have a promotion running for tomorrow, which is basically giving extra 25% off on inks and cartridges on HP, Canon, Epson, and Ricoh printers. So it's a big promotion funded by brands and everything.
Larry's significant someone is Nadine, all the way from Colombia, embracing the local traditions and loving India. While males getting Mehendi is not a normal part of most marriage celebrations, as I've been told, Larry wanted it, and so we just all did it.
अच्छा रंग आएगा मेरे प्यार पे
Let me introduce you to some of the rest of the crew. I'm not going to get everyone in here, but I wanted to highlight the diversity and skill and fun of the group, as talented a group of friends as you're going to find anywhere in the world. This is Vinay. Vinay used to manage a video game store in Delhi called Federation of Gamers. Now he works for the family business in shoe manufacturing. I met him back around the same time I met Vijay. We became good friends, but haven't seen each other in years, so this was a welcome chance to catch up. Rashi is an artist, often selling her works at Comic Cons. She made this for Vijay and Neha, a pretty awesome example of her talent. Rohan is a team leader at Tech Mahindra Business Services. He's also been somewhat of a legend at Comic Cons as the cosplay medic. There's Sachin, the web designer, Vishesh, the designer, Vibhav, the cinematic connoisseur, Oren, the cosplayer and event host, Ravi, the self-professed soliloquy soldier of fortune, Anand, the resident music expert, Somya, the self-professed awkward wannabe nomad artist, and Manish, the photo wizard. They've stuck together through thick and thin, across thousands of kilometers, and a vast spread of industries, linguistic backgrounds, and specific cultural traditions. They've been united by their love of gaming, fantastic storytelling, and geek culture from Japan to India to America and beyond. Every time we get together, I feel at home.
So all this crying that's going on, they're basically insulting the groom and all of us. Like they're insulting us very badly.
They are throwing abuses towards us because he's going to take their daughter.
Oh, okay. I came to the wedding feeling kind of sick, and then I got even sicker.
They've damaged your footage. All videos, many
Forward.
videos have gone.
The surfing violinist is on the other side of the camera, sleeping. Are you surfing right now?
It's looking like a bad kind of video right now.
Indian weddings are a true test of stamina and attention. For an outsider, the rituals are many and involve symbolism and the ancient holy chanting of high Sanskrit that are not easy to understand. In this way, an Indian wedding can serve as a pretty good microcosm of culture itself. Those of us used to a culture take the cultural cues, symbols, and processes for granted and forget that the meaning of such shared experiences may not be obvious to others. Sachin helped me understand some of these. He pointed out to me, for instance, that a Hindu bride and groom actually tie the knot. So while the exact background and meaning may be a bit different in certain Celtic traditions and Christian traditions, the phrase is the same and the symbolism is very similar. One of the most celebrated moments of any Indian wedding is the food. I discovered a new favorite dessert. It's jelly light.
Probably.
It's a
You jelly.
Oh man. And introduced my friends to American apple pie right on the banks of the Ganga at Asi Ghat. Seriously, some of the best apple pie in the world is at that pizza place at Asi. The other most noticeable celebration of the Indian wedding is the Bharat, the migration of the groom down the road complete with music, dancing, and a horse, chariot, or sometimes car to carry him along. It really was a blast. It always is. As the wedding begins to wrap up, the ceremonies get more and more playful. The groom's side must help the groom take away his bride from her family members. In our case, they demanded we sing some songs. I tried delivering a stirring rendition, if I may say so myself, of Kaise Mujhe Tu Mil Gayi, but it was not enough. So Ravi had to swoop in to save the day.
I know one's on the one song I know.
All right, go for it.
Horrible singer. Tinka, tinka, zara, zara. है रोशनी से जैसे भरा तिनका तिनका जरा जरा है रोशनी से जैसे भरा.
The groom's shoes may be stolen at some point in the wedding, providing for some more marital mischief. By this point, the effects of my digestive doomsday were in full force, and I missed the final ceremonies. It was here that my continuing love-hate affair with Varanasi entered a new phase of complexity. Vinay ran to the chemist to get me some medicine to help save my stomach. I slept most of the day away until my car was scheduled to pick me up to take me to IIT BHU for the TEDx event and thus missed some important goodbyes. So, I'll say them here. I really appreciate the way that all of you guys and gals in this ragtag group of gaming geeks and anime aficionados have taken me in these past 5 years. I really am honored to be a part of the group. The meetups, the events, and this celebration in particular have meant a lot to me and have made my India transition feel a lot more like home. I've gained a new appreciation for all kinds of new things, from America to India and way beyond. I've rediscovered my love of video games and started playing with my daughter, which has been maddening for her, actually.
I love it. That is so satisfying.
But also bonding. Kind of like my relationship with Varanasi, kind of complicated, but very much worth it.
I changed my mind, I'm gonna be really annoying. Yes, I am. Oh, sweet, good job! The Rek'Sai Snipes!
You all are incredible students of culture from Japan to America and everywhere in between, and you have managed to preserve a respectful acknowledgement of your roots, which is really admirable in a time in which we're all prodded to just throw out the past and traditions in the face of the onslaught of technology and globalism. I admire you all, and I'm thankful to be able to call you all friends. And thank you for putting up with an ugly American even when he just doesn't get it. And to Vijay and Neha, I wish you two all the best. May your games inspire others the same way that Chrono Trigger and Final Fantasy VI have inspired me. May your cosplays win every contest, and may your community of gamer geeks and nerd fighters continue to grow for years to come. Now, what followed Vijay and Neha's wedding, for me, the rest of that weekend and the following, was a tragedy of errors and sickness and Ford failure. I had taken on too much, as I have often done in the history of this channel. I was saying yes to way too many projects, too many obligations, and too many opportunities. So my sickness, though it was a digestive one, served as a pretty good wake-up call to the excessive consumption and over-eager production in my life. Every time I thought I was getting better and would begin eating food according to my taste, I got worse. I languished at the IIT BHU guest house. I languished on the train, running to the bathroom almost every 45 minutes as the swaying of the train triggered my nausea, and I languished in a hotel in Mumbai. But all this time alone made me think through a lot. It was a forced purge that I never asked for, but actually really needed. And I got some time between bouts of sickness to get out and see a city that I love, take some photos, read some Hemingway, buy some books, and see the Ganga like I've never seen it before.
Crazy bit of kismet up here in Varanasi. I'm walking down this gully, like in the middle of nowhere. I mean, it's close to Asi Ghat, so I mean, there are a lot of people around here. But not a traffic gully at all. I'm taking photos of textures, basically. I'm trying to put this patchwork of Instagram photos together. Unique looking walls, bricks. So I'm taking a photo, bending down, looking awkwardly, and a guy comes by on a cycle. A foreign guy, he stops. Holy crap, the line for this ATM. He's like, you were at TED yesterday. You were at the TED Talk yesterday playing violin, weren't you? It's like, what? You were there? He's like, yeah. I'm like, oh yeah, you got to see me choke. So weird. He plays tabla. He's been studying Hindustani classical music for 5 years here in Varanasi. He's been here as long as I have. That's amazing. It's so weird. You just never know. Kismet. This is the home of Kismet. I asked if he wanted to be in the vlog. He's like, I don't know. I don't know what type of vlogs you make. It's almost hit me. All right, I'm gonna go back and buy these books. Harsho Mohan.
At the bookstore, I discovered a graphic novel by an author and artist I've met at many Comic Cons in India, Harsho Mohan. It was a blast to find his work there on the banks of the Ganga.
At Asi Ghat, come on. It's awesome. Well, the wind is blowing off the water. Reminds me of being home. I do miss being near the water, any kind of water. I mean, even without the surf, it's just nice to be able to come down by the water. It clears your head, you know, there's just something about bodies of water that does that. Yeah, this view today is just beautiful. It was awesome, like just 5 minutes ago, 10 minutes ago. Just a wall of clouds right over the middle of Varanasi. Like, it's just, I just never seen anything like it. It's brilliant. So it's been a rough week for sure. Little things like this that make it worth it. Varanasi kind of just has a little special place in my heart, along with Belize. Always seems to have some trick up its sleeve, I feel like. I've got some Hemingway again that I wanted to read today. I bought other books, but I'm gonna start with Master Hemingway. I mean, look at that, come on. That is just, Hemingway would dig this. He would have dug this. So I'm having roti and tomato soup. It's a little better than having pizza for the way my diet is feeling, my stomach is feeling right now. Very simple. Quite tasty, actually.
In the process of dealing with the stomach bug, I was getting a front row seat to Indians who are not only comfortable in their skins, but have found their calling, and they are changing the world through that calling. At the IIT BHU TEDx conference, which focused on the exchange of new ideas, titled Contagion, ironically fitting considering my health situation, but there I got to listen to some talks from movers and shakers from across India who are finding indigenous ways of tackling social, cultural, and creative problems. This is the man behind the bar, Youngdup Lama, owner of Cocktails and Dreams here in Delhi, whose disarming persona and charm made us talk about the brief history of the cocktail, a fascinating story of culture and creativity. Filmmaker Manish Gupta came with a message about preserving the rich linguistic flow of Hindi. He has done this personally by having famous Bollywood stars like Manoj Bajpayee recite Hindi poetry on Gupta's YouTube channel, Hindi Kavita. It really is a beautiful language, and I know that there are so many beautiful languages in this country. You gotta preserve all of them because the soft power of this language is overpowering every other one, and we're going to have to be disciplined to cultivate and conserve these awesome mini textured forms of communication. They all give their own unique window to the world. Vaibhav Chabra spoke about Maker's Asylum, a spot for creative people to bring their own perspective products, inventions, and works of art to life. Having experienced a maker's space back in the US, he brought the idea back to Mumbai and Delhi, and a thriving community of creative makers are producing some incredible products and designs that are truly inspiring. But perhaps most inspiring was this man, Popat Rao Baguji Pawar, whose work at a small village called Hiware Bazaar in Maharashtra has helped transform this dry, rural area with abject poverty to a fertile land with per capita incomes increasing by 30 times. He utilized some of the strategies employed by Anna Hazare in his nearby village to accomplish goals of sustainability, malaria reduction, and overall improvement in quality of life. He challenged this group of youth with a clear call to make India great, and he received a standing ovation. He delivered his entire speech in rustic Hindi. It was really encouraging once again seeing Indians finding ways to preserve culture and find and learn from others in India how to solve problems. After an abysmal performance from me, and yes, I did totally choke on stage, Vaibhav introduced himself and invited me to check out the Makerspace in Mumbai. I was going to be there the next weekend, so I took him up on the offer.
Hi, I'm Vaibhav Chabra. The idea of this space is to provide access to everyone to come and build their ideas. We have a little 3D printing lab over here. We cover everything from simple FDM printers, some really cool DLP printers. They can make anything at about 2 micron precision. Yeah. So that's 0.002 millimeters. That's jewelry. So any artist can take them up and then use it as his own place. So here there's a guy making motorcycles to doing all sorts of other things. And at the electronics lab we have all the basic equipment to some high-end stuff which is open for everyone, again, to come and explore and use. This is the most fun part of the asylum. That's the wood shop. This is where all the hammering and the tongue happens. That's the first table that we built, and that's how the asylum started, by building that table. And now it's been growing into the entire space that you see. Bosch and Dremel provide the tools over here, so we've got all sorts of fancy, nice equipment. This guy, that's the most used tool at the asylum, and that's where all the fun laser cutting happens. There's space for everyone to work. Some really exciting projects like this one, which is they're building a satellite ground station, an open source one. They'll have an antenna on the roof, so then we can get open source data coming from satellites, making again more to do with architecture and open source housing. They're doing something really cool. They're working with a doctor and creating eye diagnostic devices.
Yeah, there are a lot of interesting issues we are dealing with, but at the same time, it's going to be very rewarding once it's done.
Easier retinal imaging, and it can reach out to a maximum number of people. So, yeah, working towards that.
That's the laser hub. It works with lasers and all sorts of electronics inside.
Whoa.
So you cut the laser light and it makes sound.
No way. That is awesome.
A lot of people come and do like simple artistic stuff, but at the same time hardcore health diagnostic things over here. Just by providing space you can get all these exciting things happening. Apart from that, it's a lot of focus on education. Teach people how to use these tools and at the same time the space so they can try out their ideas and pass on the knowledge.
Perfect. While in Mumbai, I also got to touch base with one of my favorite filmmakers, Jaideep Verma, who appreciated what I had to say about his film, Hulla, which I will forever recommend. I was feeling really sick at this point still, so I didn't film any part of our meeting, and I didn't feel like shoving a camera in his face. He asked me a question about Donald Trump, which resulted in a 10 or 15 minute long forward rant about politics and the problems of imperialism in our world. I'll tell you a basic gist of what I told him. India is poised to change the world. It's a place where solutions to the battles between progress and conservation, tribe and empire, tradition and technology are being waged all the time. But the Indian desire to avoid conflict is helping you all from turning these ideological battles into violent wars. Sure, there are tensions and violence bubbles up, but that's a problem everywhere on this planet. I really believe that India has something, that you all have something to help navigate a third path between progress and technology, and empire on the one hand, and conservation and tradition, and the free will of the individual on the other. Don't sell your rich tapestry of unique Indian ways of perceiving the world and making something of the world. There are makers, there are filmmakers, there are game designers, there are comic book writers, there are poets, there are politicians, there are IT professionals and web designers and artists and photographers and even mixologists who are trying new indigenous ways of solving problems and making a better world. Finding that third path is not going to be easy, but I think Indians are best poised to do it. But, and I know I am an outsider, but you have to find a way to preserve the past while moving forward. And you're doing it, so keep it up, and thank you for letting me observe and participate these 5 years. I hope we'll be able to do it for 5 more. My story continues, and I am convinced more than ever that the primary calling I have in this world is to write. And this particular part of my story, with all its digestive pitfalls, gave me some material that ended up in a short story I just wrote called Rite of Passage, along with an essay called Broccoli and Ben & Jerry's explaining the philosophy of the story. They are available for Patreon supporters for free. Thank you, and until next time, keep it creative, keep it cross-cultural, and keep it constructive, lords and ladies. Thank you very much.